course, we're very happy to see wages subsidies. We've been calling for wages subsidies as a response to the economic crisis brought on by coronavirus. From the very beginning, Labor and the union movement together have been calling for wages subsidies, and we're pleased to see that the government has agreed to those. What we're worried about are the very, very many workers who miss out on this. Well over 1 million casuals will miss out on this because they haven't been with the same employer for the required amount of time. And in my own portfolio, I'm very worried about casual teaching staff and casual university and TAFE staff as well.
Yes. Can I just ask you on that?
The teaching workforce.
Yeah, particularly. This is something that Tony Burke raised yesterday as well, Tanya Plibersek. And so if you're a casual teacher, are you not employed by the Education Department, therefore it coming under the umbrella of one employer? Or is it each individual school?
So the different states are dealing with this slightly differently. Right. The ACT government, for example, have said, that's it, we're going to support casual workers, our casual teaching workforce, we're just going to look after them in the same way as other teachers. But when you take, for example, non-government schools, we know that one diocese in the New South Wales Catholic system has already let 300 teachers go. There's one school in Queensland that's let 100 casual teachers go. And many of these are people who have been working with that system or in that local area for years, or in some cases even decades. I've been contacted by a lot of very distressed teachers. Many of them, I have to say, are mums who are returning to work after a few years out of the workforce caring for children. They go back as casuals, and we have depended on them in the lead up to the schools reducing the number of students on campus. In all of those weeks when COVID-19 was a health threat, we were asking casual teachers to walk into classrooms and to be part of our frontline response to the virus. Yeah. And now when they need us, we're turning our backs on them. It's just not fair.
Well, look, I have heard similar stories when it comes to the childcare sector as well. There was a package announced by the government that came into effect Sunday night. Many childcare workers are on visas because it's an area where I guess we need those skills from overseas. So therefore, these workers are not eligible for the JobKeeper or job seeker allowance. Now, Dan Tehan and the Education Department say they're going to try and sort this out. They're going to work with individual centres and companies. But has that been something that has come across your desk as well?
Well, there's a couple of things about childcare. There's a lot of confusion. At first it seemed that council childcare centres wouldn't be eligible for this support. I hope that has been fixed now. There's confusion about whether family daycare is eligible. There's this issue with workers that are on visas, because it is an area of labour shortage that, until recently we've seen labour shortages in this area. And we also have other industries that similarly rely on visa holders because of skills shortages that will be very hard hit. The hospitality industry is a huge employer in my electorate. I've been speaking to my local businesses that tell me how reliant they've been on students, international students, or chefs from overseas. We've had a huge shortage of chefs for years now in Australia. None of those workers are eligible, and it will mean the closure of some of these hospitality businesses probably for good. They won't be able to cope in these circumstances. So you've seen with teachers, with universities, with TAFE, with childcare, with hospitality, there's a broad range of the workforce that won't actually be supported by the measures that are introduced today. So we welcome the approach of wages subsidies, but we are very worried about some of the exclusions. So today, of course, we'll be supporting the legislation, but we will be seeking to push these changes in the Parliament. And also, it's worth noting, Laura, that the Treasurer has given himself enormous discretion to continue to include other groups in these arrangements in coming weeks. We will continue to push for workers that are left out of these arrangements to be included.
Let's talk about universities, because they are certainly a bleeding cash at the moment, around the order of more than $4 billion already. They're asking for a package. I believe they're talking to the government. Do you know the nature of what they require?
Well, the universities have said that having access to JobKeeper payment on the same terms as other not-for-profit organisations or charities would be a lifeline for them. They're also, of course, very worried about some students that don't have any income support, that really are suffering at the moment, really have nowhere to turn. So they're talking to the university about support for students as well. But just think about our universities for a moment. This is 240,000 staff across Australia.
Yes.
In recent times, they have been very reliant on income from international students. Most of that income is used to support the research effort, which is, we found the Gardasil vaccine that way, we found the bionic ear, we've found influenza vaccines in the past. Of course, universities are playing a huge role in the research that will find treatments and a vaccine for COVID-19, but they can't if they've got no money coming in. And a large proportion of their teaching staff and also admin staff, librarians, the people who do food and beverage, they're all casuals. And when you look across the university sector, they employ, as I said, almost 250,000 people, but 14,000 of those people are in regional areas. Yeah. You take a few hundred jobs out of a regional area, that has a huge economic impact on that area. We've even had universities saying they might fold altogether. We can't afford that. We can't afford it because of the loss of research. We can't afford it because of the loss of jobs right across Australia. And we can't afford it because it's universities that right now are training the nurses, the doctors, the epidemiologists, the scientists that will handle this pandemic and the next one. We already see universities talking to hospitals about how senior students, people who are very well advanced in their medical degrees or nursing degrees, can go into hospitals and help on the front line. We have to support our institutions.